Hey everybody, Vince Dowd, the founder of Authentic Elevation. And I wanted to know, have you ever touched the truth? I want to share with you a powerful understanding that I gleaned through meditation. I've been meditating now about 2 to 3 hours a day for a year or so. And I want to share with you something very profound that could totally change your life. But I want you to know whatever I say here is not true. And what I mean by that is truth cannot be contained within the mind, within the words, or within our actions, because the world is fragmented, which means truth cannot be understood. It only can be experienced through being. But thinking and doing is not true, because anything that is temporary is moving through the space of truth. And therefore, when we latch on to a thought, an idea, an action, these come and go, and that's not true. The truth is the real, and the real has no beginning and no end. So I wanted to share this with you because it's very profound. So as I sat and meditated, I do a practice called self-inquiry, which I learned from Ramana Maharshi. And his statement is that all meditation typically is meditating on something. When I first learned to meditate, I learned to meditate on a mantra. I went through Deepak Chopra and I learned primordial sound, and you would make a sound, a vibration. Other times I learned to meditate on my breath. The problem is when you're meditating on something, it's going outward, right? Coming out of you, the breath or a sound. But Ramana talks about, in the end, everybody's going to come to the same process, which is self-inquiry. So self-inquiry is meditating on the meditator. So every thought that arises as I sit with myself, I ask one question, and that is, who is thinking that thought? Who is feeling, for example, because I'd never used to be able to meditate more than 20 minutes, I thought, well, I can't meditate. My mind's too busy. My body hurts. Well, keep in mind, when we're meditating, our body is our mind. Our body is our mind in gross form. And so the body starts to hurt, and so we say, oh, it hurts, I got to get up, I got to move. But if we ask the question, who is it that's hurting? Is it I that's hurting, or is it my body? Because I'm not my body. And as you start to inquire, you'll notice something happens, at least with me it did, is the pain would disappear. It would dissipate. And then my mind would start to say, okay, you got things to do, get up, go get those things done. And I'd say, who is it that has these things to do? And I would go back inside myself. So what self-inquiry does, instead of following a chain or outside influences or outside of ourselves, we bring it back into ourselves and ask, who is the source that's creating this thought or this feeling? Who is that I? And of course, the answer always comes up for me, I am. Who is it? I am. Who is I am? I am. I am. And so as you do that, what happens is the thoughts start to slow down because we're going to the source. I look at it kind of like an antenna. If we think of a cell phone antenna, we have an antenna that receives signals and sends out signals, right? But when we have that antenna and we don't let any signals go out, we're bringing them back in to meditate on the self, then it goes right down to the source and it blocks the flow of outgoing signals. And now it just resonates around the question of who am I? And this is very profound because we go back to the beginning thought before any of this was all created in the external world, which is I am. For anything to be, you have to be. That means the I am had to take form out of the infinite and the absolute. And so the I am, if you think about it, every day you get out of bed, you start with one thought, I am. And that I am, you then attach all these external ideas to, the thinking. I am tired, I am hungry, I have to go to the restroom. The I is always the center point, and everybody misses that. So what we need to do is turn that back in ourselves and ask, who am I? Who is this I? And you'll find that it's not your body, and you'll find that it's not your thoughts. So if it's not your thinking and it's not your body, who are you? And this is very interesting. And I could never tell you who you are. Only you will know when you sit with yourself and ask the same question that I've asked. But I wanted to share a concept with you. And keep in mind this concept's not going to be right, because anytime you think about it, it's not it. The thinking creates all the problems. But the thinking can be a signpost or a sign to lead us in the right direction. So as I meditated this morning, and I was asking the question, who am I started to have this bliss come over me, this what they call Sat Chit Ananda, which is existence, consciousness, bliss, which is our true nature. And I realized that every desire that I've had is only exciting to me because it's like a broken mirror, a fragment of the external world, which reflects back to me my true nature. I am bliss, I am existence, and I am consciousness. And so are you. And so when we chase a desire, we're actually externalizing who we are, and we're projecting it out into this physical realm, which is illusion, and we get a fragment of it, and we think, oh, I can make $1 million, I'm so excited, and you get excited and you get the joy. That's a reflection of who you are inside. And you might even have an excitement for sex, and you get this experience of orgasm, and that's just a reflection of the bliss that you are. So everything that we're chasing in desire is trying to reconnect with ourselves, but we're looking the wrong direction. We're going outward into the external world, which is time-space, which is not real. Even our fears are just the other side of desire. If you think about it, what do you fear? You fear death. Who fears death? Well, that's the I. Who am I? It's really the ego. The original thought is I, the original ignorance, I. I fear death. But there is no death, and there is no birth. That is the time-space illusion, because the ego is born. And the ego is just a series of programs that our mind was picked up. They were programmed into us by parents, teachers, society, news, and we believe who we are is this body-mind, this role that we play, the gender, the political affiliation. We believe that we're all these things that we're not, and that's why we have so many problems, because we keep thinking about it. And as we project outward, our energy, because we are creators, is creating ultimate dimensions. We're creating everything. But those are all fragments of who we are. So we'll never find our happiness, our truth, or our bliss in anything outside of us. And that's why we must turn our eyes inside of us and go inquire within. So the fear itself, I saw clearly, what am I afraid of? And all my fears that come up, I realize they're the other side of the desire. For example, if you desire to make millions of dollars, it's because you get excited about what you can do with it. You can travel, you can swim, you can have a private jet, you can have nice cars, you can do all these beautiful things. And that makes you happy because it's a fragment of who you are naturally as happiness. But the fear on the other side of that is not having the money, being hungry, right? Being rejected, having low status in society. And it's because you believe that you're your body, and your body is not achieving some level of success or some level of whatever it is, or that your body's hungry. And all those fears, or the ego's fear of death. Because the ego knows that it's all going to end. It was born, it's going to die, right? Everything that you have received will be taken. Everything that you want will be gone, and every fear will arise. But these are all for the ego, but that's not who you are. So when we identify ourselves with the ego, the mind, the body, the thoughts, the beliefs, the programs, then we have all these desires and all these fears. And if you notice, the desires never create the happiness. I remember when I went out and started making money, and I thought if I just made a lot of money, I'd be happy. And I made a lot of money, and I bought a Mercedes, and I drove through a neighborhood, and I thought everybody's going to notice me now, and nobody really noticed me. And in 6 months, I was bored with my Mercedes. I got a beautiful home, and you know what? I had get-togethers, but nobody cared. And I lost interest in that as well, because it's only a fragmented piece of who I am. So in this journey, I've been turning myself back into myself, asking, who am I? And even though 20 minutes seems good, the problem is my mind doesn't even slow down for an hour. So I can't even find truth in myself until I sit long enough. And so I saw this, and I realized that everything I've been chasing in my life is only like a broken mirror fragment that shows and reflects back to me who I really am. But I think it's in that piece of desire, in that new home, in that car, in that sex, in that travel. And it excites me on the journey because I know that I'm seeing myself at the deepest level. But on the ego level, I think it's out there. But the absolute, the existence, consciousness, bliss is inside of us. And so the mind is contained within us. The body, the universe is all contained within us. What is it that can hold all of that? The thinking, the beliefs, the mind, all physicality, everything. The only thing that can hold that is the truth. And that's your true nature. That's who you are. When the body disintegrates and the 5 elements go back into the 5 elements, and when you finally awaken, which you will at some point, you will realize you are living a dream and chasing the external illusions that never fulfill you and running from external fears that are not real. And this is the power that I found in meditation. So I don't ask you to believe a word I said because it's probably not true. In fact, what I've realized is anything I say, do, think, or feel is not true. The truth is what it is. And we only know the truth by sitting with the truth. In fact, as I sat there today, I realized that I haven't trusted God as much as I should. And so many people don't really trust God. And as I was sitting there with myself, going inside, I had this revelation come up that says, you do not trust me because you are not spending time with me. Now, I am spending time, but not enough time, right? So the more time we spend with somebody, the more we build trust. If you don't spend a lot of time with somebody, you don't trust them naturally because you don't know them. But the more you spend time with somebody, the more you'll learn the characteristics and the more you'll understand whether you trust them. And so as I sit in meditation, more and more, I'm learning that I can trust God. I still have a long way to go, but God, which we call God, I don't like the word God because it's been abused and overused and it's a creation of man. I'll call it the absolute. The absolute, the source, whatever you want to call it. But what I found is very interesting is the absolute is what's doing all of it. We don't have to do anything. It's being done through us. The unconscious mind, for example, runs the autonomic nervous system. Our heart beats, our blood flows, our thoughts come up. We don't have to think about doing it. It's done through us. That is true energy moving. Just like when you were in the womb for 9 months, you did nothing. You had to do nothing. You just were taken care of by the universal flow of life and energy. You were fed, you were warmed, everything was done for you until you became a human being, and then you started to get programmed, and it's your name, and you're a boy or you're a girl, and then you're a rich family or a poor family, and all these programs are put into us, and now we believe that we have to do everything to be okay. And so that ego takes over and we start to do, chasing those fragments and those illusions, and yet never ever finding that bliss that we are, that we were at birth, that we are beyond all the thinking mind and the doing body. And when we get back home to that place, which we all will at some point, we start to realize that everything we've done was just an illusion. Everything we've had, all the beliefs, all the thinking was just noise. In the time space, it's all temporary. But if you think about it, what holds up everything else is the space that creates the separation. So if you think about what makes us one, I thought about 2 things. Number 1, the thing that connects all of us is the space. Science has shown that your body is 99.9% space. Everything is 99.9% space. And guess what? That is who we are. We're connected because we're not the physical. We are the ethereal. We are that which we do not see. And that's who we really are. That's why there is only one life, one love. However, we see and we identify with the body, and therefore we identify with physicality, and we focus our energy on the 1% of the universe, which is physical, and that's the illusion because it all disappears. But look at the space in this room. The space between objects. The space between me and the objects. All of this is illusion, not the space, but the things that we see. What if we are the empty space? And that's closer to the truth. It's not the truth. But what if we are the empty space? So all the physicality, the body is not who I am. If I cut my arms off, my legs off, I'm still me. You can even give me a heart transplant and I'm still me, because I am not the body. You could change my thinking, take my brain out, and I'm still me. Just like you are still you. And you don't create more space by putting boxes in your room. If we fill this room with more objects until there's no space, we're not going to find more space. The only way we find out who we are is to remove the things that block the space. When we remove the ideas and the thoughts and the things that distract us from finding ourselves, that's when we find ourselves. So it's not adding more things to our life that we'll find ourselves. It is actually realizing that we need to remove that which blocks us from knowing who we are. And that means the thoughts, the ideas, the programs. And to do that, the only thing we really need to do, and for a while we have to do this, it's a doing, it's to sit with ourselves quietly, undisturbed, and go inside and ask one question. Every time a thought arises, instead of following this thought and having it branch out and fragment and become a chain of thinking, just ask yourself, who is it that's thinking that thought? And then you're going to go inside yourself and go back to the source of that thought. And when your body hurts or your body's giving you issues, just ask, who is it that's feeling that? And the answer might come up, it's my body. Okay, well, who is the body? Is the body me? And then you'll have your own conversation, but you're inquiring to find out who you are. And you will find out that you've identified yourself as the small self or the body, but that's not who you are. You're the big self. And the big self is beyond the body and mind, and I can't describe what that is, but you'll know it because that's who you are. So I encourage you to take some time, sit with yourself daily and ask yourself, who am I? And when you feel like getting up, that's the mind and the body saying, okay, we're done with this. The ego's afraid that you're going to find yourself. Sit longer and ask yourself, who needs to get up? Who has to do all these things? And you'll find out it's not the real you, it is the false you. So anyway, I appreciate you. I hope this video brought some insight to you. Please share below what you feel, what you think, although they're all illusions. But please let me know what you think of the video. If it helped you, if you start to use the technique, I would love for you to come back and share with me. It is powerful. It is changing me to realize who I am and bringing more joy and more bliss in my life. Much love to you. Please subscribe. Click the bell when I put new videos up. Subscribe. I'm going to be adding more and more of these. It's been a difficult journey. I haven't been as consistent as I'd like, but I am moving in that direction, and I honor you for being part of the journey with me. Jai Bhagwan. Have a beautiful day.